Okay, so we're in Perek Mem, Parshas Vayeshev, Pasuk Tes Zayin. Okay, so tonight I want to cover Psukim Tes Zayin through your tests, but I'm not going to have much to say on anything but for Pasuk Tes Zayin, but we're going to call that going through those Psukim. Okay, Pasuk Tes Zayin. Vayar Sar Ha'ofim Kitoiv Pasar. So the Sar Ha'ofim saw that Yosef was Paiser Toiv. Now, what does this mean? So there are two ways to read this. You could look at all the Mefarshim, split on the Pshat. Targum says one way, the Rambam brings both Pshatim. Either it means Sar Ha'ofim saw that he interpreted it well. Okay? And therefore, he sees, oh, he's a good Paiser, so he wants him to hear his dream too. Or it means he saw that he gave a piston for good, right? Okay. So now let's just to comment, just to clarify, simply in terms of the story. There's a difference in Sar Ha'ofim and Sar Hamashkim. Sar Ha'ofim only speaks up and offers his dream after he sees Kitoiv Pasar, right? So if it means after he sees that Yosef is a good interpreter, knows what he's doing, skilled interpreter, then what that means is that in Pasuk Ches, where they told Yosef there's no Paiser, and he said Halal Kim Pisroinim Saprun Ali, which means whatever it means, we spoke about it then, that they thought they need a Paiser, and they're in jail, and Yosef says Pisrin is this godly kind of skill, and therefore Saprun Ali. So Mashkim accepts that, Sar Ha'ofim waits to put that to the test. So that's the difference between Mashkim and Sar Ha'ofim. Sar Ha'ofim is skeptical about whether in fact Pisroinim is Leila Kim, such that Yosef, who didn't go to school for Pisrin school, could still have this divine skill. Okay? Now, but we're not going to talk about that Mahalach tonight. Let's talk about the other way, that let's say it means Ki Toiv Pasar. You saw that he gave a good Pisrin. So what that means is that the Sar Hamashkim wasn't afraid. He was willing to tell Yosef his dream, take a risk. And the Sar Ha'ofim was only willing to tell Yosef his dream after he saw that the Sar Hamashkim got a good interpretation, right? Because somehow he expected that if the Sar Hamashkim got a good interpretation, he will also get a good interpretation. Why? Well, there's one thing you have to do with the other. Just because Sar Hamashkim got a good interpretation, so therefore he will. So one thing this we spoke about is that the idea that the whole parak puts the two of them together. And it says Vayachal Mucha Loim Shnehem. So there's some unity with the Sar Hamashkim, Sar Ha'ofim, right? We spoke about that at length. And they somehow go together until they split at the fork in the end, where one dies and one lives. Okay? And that's why he says Af Ani B'Chaloimi, because he's seeing it as if he and the Sar Hamashkim are one. And by the way, till now, and the other dreams are in fact one. Chaloim Pare Echadu, the two dreams are one. Yosef's two dreams are really all about the same thing. But here we have, you would think the Sar Hamashkim, Sar Ha'ofim, also the dreams should be the same thing. No, there's a split. Okay, that's what we spoke about to now. But there's also another way to say this. Another reason to explain why the Sar Ha'ofim thinks if the Sar Hamashkim gets a good pisrin, that means he's going to get a good pisrin too, which is based on the principle that which is actually learned out from Yosef. The Gemara says we learn out from Parshas Miketz, where it says implying that the pisrin caused it to be. Not that he got it right, but that as he told us, so was. I think that's the diak. That it's the fact that he told us that it would be that way, which made it that way. Okay? So...
You suggest that anybody should be able to do it?
No, not at all. No. Halal Kim Pisroinim. No. On the contrary.
You're saying Halal Kim Pisroinim. They don't agree with that.
No, of course they do. No. Who doesn't agree with that?
They didn't start with that. They started...
I know, but they accepted that. Eventually they accepted that. No, but they accepted that. He said Saprun Ali because Halal Kim Pisroinim. They accepted that.
Otherwise, they didn't deny that there was also such thing as a professional.
Yeah, go to Freud. I don't know, whatever. Regular dream analysis. But Chalai means that the Paiser is truly a divine figure. Because what it means is like this. What it means is, and we spoke about this last week, what it means is that the Paiser is operating in the realm of the divine, and he's representing the divine, and he's there. He's the one who, his word, his thought, is part of the process. Okay? I mean, everyone thinks about it as like, whatever you say is going to happen. That's not what it means. It's opposite. It means that if Kol HaChalom Sachar HaPeh means that the Paiser is like a malach, meaning he's part of the process. He's not just b'mikra that there's a paiser, and therefore you have to be a paiser is not stam anyone. And like Yosef said, paiser is God, and we spoke about that. That paiser is a supernatural thing, taka supernatural thing. So the Psarifim says, so Yosef stands for God, and his role as a paiser is in God's way of making things happen. He's an intermediary. He's part of the process, and Yosef is a good guy. He's a good malach, or he represents a good God. So, fine. So then, this is a paiser you want. Very good, right? Good. So now we have a problem. No, well, there are two problems. First of all, Sarayim wanted a good piston, or expected a good piston, right? I always kept on saying that his dream is very sinister. I don't know what was the good piston that Sarayim was hoping for when he dreams that birds are eating bread off his head. Okay, question number one. Okay, it's a fair question. Birds eating bread off your head seems to be a very, very sinister dream, which, as indeed he was placed in. So, first question is, what was the good interpretation that he expected? But another question, as you could ask, is, it's a good taina. If he sees kitoif pasar, the Yosef's piston is Yosef is a toiv paser. Again, meaning because it's not about Yosef just choosing. It's not about Yosef's skill. It's about Yosef, his essence. He's a malach toiv. He's a malach toiv. Let's call him, right. Yosef is like a malach toiv. So then, how does the Sarayim not get toiv? Okay. So this question. Okay, we're not going to go further into psukim inside, but I think let's just read them inside, because let's read them. So the afani is that he's connecting himself to Sahar Mashkim, as we mentioned. 3 baskets of chayri. Look at the Mefarshim what chayri means. It doesn't appear anywhere else. On the top basket, all of Paris food, Maaseh Oifa. Now here it says Vaya'an, which it doesn't say by the Sar Hamashkim. I don't know why, but we'll hopefully get to that later. There's something special about this Vayan. The Yosef is responding to him. So here, like the same exact lashon we had earlier, and as in the previous dream, Yosef stresses the symbolism of the items as referring to time. How do items turn into time? That's what we spoke about last year. So that's the same expression used in Sar Mashkim, which suggests again that this idea of Sar Mashkim Sarayim go together and they're indistinguishable. But he adds me'alecha v'sala oischa al eitz. Now, how does he know he's going to hang him on a tree? Because the bird's eating the food is the bird eating his flesh. Why is the birds eating his flesh? Why not the birds and the animals? We have a lot of times in Tanakh. Because you're going to be on a tree, so therefore, only the birds will get him. Okay? Fine. So now my question was, l'chayr this ha'ofim has a good taina. Yosef is a paiser toiv. How is it that a paiser toiv is also a paiser ra? Okay? That's in as much as the Sarayim expected that, and that's the point of the pasuk. What happened to that expectation? So for this we look at Kehelas, and now we're going to be in Kehelas basically for the rest of this year. Kehelas answers these questions and does a lot. There's a Tanakh for you over there. Kehelas Perek Zayin, Pasuk Aleph. A lot of these things we spoke about in the past. We're going to go through it a lot. Some of the points tonight again, and some new points and how it answers this Ofim's expectation. Kehelas Perek Zayin Pasuk Aleph says, "Toiv shem mishem and toivim hamom esimim v'voldei." Reputation is better than good oil, and the day of death is better than a birthday. What does that mean? Stam Pasuk. On a birthday, they take the baby and they give him oil, good oil. I think that's what it's referring to. But either way, what's so special about a birthday is a life of geschmack ahead of him, right? But he doesn't have a shame yet. And in fact, no one really has a shame till they're dead, because I can't write a book about someone till they're dead, because you never know. Maybe he's going to undo all his life's achievement. So therefore, since shame is better than shame and toiv, therefore Yom HaMav is better than Yom HaVoldei. And this is following, by the way, the previous pasuk. what? All right, so Yom Huledet says Paroi was the Yom Hamaves of the Sahar Eifim, right? And that's better. That's, the Sahar Eifim really got Toiv because he got Yom Hamaves. Yom Hamaves is awesome. Now, you might ask a fair question. Why is it awesome? Because you have a good shame. Sahar Eifim died in ignominy, right? He died in ignominy. He died with a bad shame. So, l'chayre, how could you apply this pasuk? Well, it's a good question. Now, we're gonna get back to this, but I want to show you. You'll see the psukim we spoke about these psukim a lot in this parsha of the Samashim Saifim. But let's go back one pasuk now to the end of Perek Vav, where it says, "No one knows what's taiv in the Chaim. You don't know what's taiv because you don't know what's coming after you." What does that mean? That means you think taiv is, let's say, you're gonna make money or whatever, or you'll have a family, but you never know whether it's going to all fall apart after you. So therefore, you don't even know what's taiv. Okay? Stop. Just remember that pasuk. We'll get back to that. Good. So now, but you see, it's an important thing. The Sahar Eifim thinks he knows what taiv is, right? Because, taiv is life, and taiv is to get my job back. And but here, Kala says that actually no one really knows what taiv is, because since you don't know what the future holds, you don't know what taiv is. Which I guess, plugging that into the Sahar Eifim's case, we'll get back to this, is that he wants to get his job back, he wants to be Sahar Eifim again, but the lechem of Mitzrayim has a very uncertain future. Okay? Right? The bread of Mitzrayim has an uncertain future. 3 years later, there's going to be a Saiva and then a hunger. Okay, but that we're jumping ahead of here. But the point is, Mavis is actually a good thing, because Mavis is when your life's work gets... That's what it says in Kehelis. I make it up. The Yom HaMavis is taif, because it's when your life's work gets cemented, the reputation gets cemented. Now let's read on. Oh, the Sahar Mashkim is going to base Mishta, right? He's the Sahar Mashkim. He's in charge of the Mishta of Parai. Vayas Mishta l'chalavadav, Yom says Parai, and that's great. But no. Actually, Sahar Eifim, even better, because base Eifim is better. Basher Usayf Kolad V'chayit in Libo. Now, V'chayit in Libo, we spoke about this in the context of Yosef. I'm not going to speak about this tonight, but that Yosef sees dreams as telling you the future in order that you should do something. That we see by Parai, it tells him what to do because of the future, and we see that in Sahar Mashkim also. Parai is going to bring you back, and the reason why you know this is because you're supposed to plan ahead and make sure to remember me. And we spoke about this, that really, what happened didn't work. The Sahar Mashkim forgot Yosef. And that's because Sahar Mashkim was going to a party. And parties are not conducive for being serious and remembering things, while V'chayit in Alibai. So meaning, Yosef was really supposed to tell Sahar Eifim, who just heard that he's going to die in 3 days, he's the one who's capable of now doing some great actions. Okay, we spoke about this at length. And that continues here. Tov kas mischaik. It's better to have kas than schaik. The Sahar Mashkim got schaik. Sahar Eifim got kas. Why is that so good? Ki b'roya panim yitav leiv. B'roya panim. Yosef saw them and said, "Why are you upset?" And then when they said, "Oh, we don't have a paiser," and then when he gave the person to the Sahar Mashkim, he said, "Kasha yitav lach." And we spoke about this also in the other Sahar Mashkim who had a bad countenance, and that's Nehemiah. Sefer Nehemiah, it says he was Sahar Mashkim, and the king said to him, "Adu panecha ra'im," and he got very afraid because the Sahar Mashkim can't be panecha ra'im, and he said, "I remembered my father's the kivros avoisai." So the point is, we spoke about this last week. Remembering death is very important, and it's the key to yitav leiv. Okay, I'm not going to chaz that. Leiv chacham beis eva v'leiv k'sidim beis simcha. Yosef had to become a chacham, and he eventually did become a chacham. Right? Ein noven v'chacham kamoich, after he interpreted Parai's dreams. He started off as a ksil, because Moitzi Diba hu ksil, and Marba Dvorm is ksil by Eshes Beitifar, and he had to become a chacham. And by focusing on the Sahar Mashkim, and instead of the Sahar Eifim, he's indicating that he's still not a complete chacham. Toiv l'shmar garas chacham. So the Sahar Eifim heard the garas chacham. Garas chacham, he said, in 3 days you're going to die. See, by the way, the Sahar Eifim is not a joke. The Sahar Eifim was a very special situation. Someone has 3 days, he knows he has 72 hours left to live. He could do something. He could do big stuff. He could do tshuva. He could do something very significant. So that's the garas chacham. Not everyone gets a garas chacham. Some people are the man that hear the shir ksidim, like the Sahar Mashkim, who just heard that everything's going to be fine again, and he never changed his ways. Okay, now let's jump to pasuk ches. Toiv achvas davar me'reshisai. Okay, the end is better than the beginning. So Sahar Eifim, who says end is coming, he got the real toiv. Toiv erech ruach mi'gevar ruach. Better to be patient than to be proud. So I mean, the Sahar has the opportunity to have Erech Ruach, face his death with equanimity, and accept his fate, and accept Hashem, and so on and so forth, and do Seividoi, and die like a man, and it's better off than this Sahar Mashkim who got Gvar Ruach by being told, you can be back al Kanecha, right? Okay, now let's jump ahead a little bit. Let's go to Pasuk, even though there's some things in between that probably have a shaykhs, but I'm not sure exactly how. Let's go to Pasuk Yudalet. B'yayim toiva hayeh b'toiv. On the good day, experience the good. V'yayim ra'a re'eh. So there's good days and there's bad days, and on bad days you have to look out. It means when there's toiv, fine, but when there's bad days you have to be careful to avoid it. Good and bad parallel each other. So there's this idea that you can never know anything. Okay, Allah is very busy with this. You can never know anything. You can never know what's coming. You can know the difference between good and bad, and you know if you're good and you know if you're bad. But good and bad have this symbiotic relationship, it says in Kehillah. So everything is parallel. So therefore, just like there's good, there's also bad, and you can never predict. You can never be sure that something's going to be A and not B, because everything has its parallel. That's the Eis Lalel, Eis Lamos. We spoke about that in length. And that's what next pasuk continues, that as a kol ra'isi b'mehevli, yesh tzadik ovid b'tzidkoi. You can have a tzadik who's ovid b'tzidkoi because Tov and Ra are parallel, and you can never be sure. Meaning, just because you're Tov doesn't mean Ra won't happen to you, because Tov and Ra have this relationship with each other. Okay? So therefore, going back to pasuk Dalet, it says, on a good day, you should see that you could have the Tov, but on the bad day, you should look out. So now, what that means in our context is like this: is that the Sahar thought that there's a good that it's Tov Pasar. He thought that the 3 days hence, Yom Ulaz's power is a Yom Tova, right? But really, it was a Yom Ra'ah for him, and he has to now. That has to be brought to his attention. He has to look for that. In other words, he's Soki Toiv Pasar. He was looking for life. And that's what he was looking for, but he has to see. The Ra that was coming towards him was what he had to be focusing on. And here the pasuk says too that, okay, a person doesn't know anything, doesn't know Mu'umah, because Ra and Toiv go together. This we spoke about last week, that Yosef said to the Sahar Mashkim, Gam Poi Lo Yasisi Mu'umah, meaning Yosef doesn't chab. Why is he in a bar? Because he thinks he's blameless, and really, as it says over here, you can have a tzaddik who's ovid b'tzidkoi, because Tov and Ra have a very close relationship, and just because you think you're Tov doesn't mean you're not going to suffer Ra. Whatever the theology of that is, we're not going to go into that. Okay, next. Let's see, and then it continues and says, tzidkus and rishus, both very important. Have a little bit of each. Ki re'eh lekim yetzees kulam. Okay, Yosef says it's a lekim ani yoreh. And I suspect, but I don't have this worked out, that Yosef, who's here engaged with the Sahar Mashkim who's living and the Sahar Opim who's dying, one is a tzaddik, one is a rasha, apparently, because one lives and one dies. But it turns out maybe the Sahar Opim is the tzaddik and the Sahar Mashkim is the rasha, right? Because the Sahar Opim might be the tzaddik ovid b'tzidkoi, and the Sahar Mashkim might be the rasha mach barasa.
I thought they did the same thing.
Right, so that's a stomach question, right? Till now we always thought the Sahar Mashkim was I know, but then they switched in terms of their ability to do tshuva, we spoke about, right?
Right, so maybe he did.
Yeah. On the other hand, right.
If you advise him to, maybe.
Right. Maybe the Sahar could have gotten the advice to do tshuva. I mean.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we mentioned this last week. I mean, I didn't just clap at the end of last week's shir that the fact is the Gemara Bracha says a good person never sees a good dream and a bad person never sees a bad dream. By that logic, the Sahar Mashkim is a bad guy. The Sahar is a good guy, right? Because Sahar is the one who's getting a warning. Your death is impending, and that's a good thing to know. And to know that you're just going to live and get back your job is just lulling you into a sense of security, right? Okay, but basically Yosef has to engage with both. It's not a useful dream, right? It's very useful to have bad dreams, and it's detrimental for bad people to have good dreams because they don't get the wake-up call. So anyways, but then here we're talking about there's two things, there's Tov and Ra, and a Yirei Elokim has to have a little bit of both. I have no idea what this means, but it was pointing out that Yosef, who's engaged with Sahar Mashkim, Sahar Opim, he's eventually declares as a lekim ani yoreh, and he's the chacham who can protect the city of Mitzrayim more than the 10 rulers. And then pasuk Chaf insists that no one's a tzaddik who does good and doesn't sin, which contradicts what Yosef insists that gam poi lo yasisi me'uma. Right, as we spoke about that last week, Yosef says I'm blameless. There's no reason I should be suffering, and Kehillah says no such thing. Okay, and now I want you to take a note on this pasuk, on the next two psukim, and then we'll get back to it. The next two psukim say like this: everything they say, don't pay any attention. Don't listen to your servant who's cursing you, because your heart also knows that you too cursed others. Okay, so it's saying something like, okay, if the guy's cursing you, if your servant's cursing you, which is a very bad thing to do, it shouldn't bother you because you also cursed other people. So don't take it so seriously or something. You can't take it so seriously because you did the same thing. It's not that you shouldn't take it seriously, but you did it too. So it's like one of these weird arguments, you know. You have no right to take it seriously because, you know, you also did it. It's not saying why. It's not saying it's not serious. It's saying, you know, you did it too. Everyone does it. So you have no choice, okay? Just pointing that out. We'll see how that gets back. I think it gets back to this whole story in a major way. Okay, so we answered one of the questions. Kellis over here answers one of the questions. Sarafim expects taiv, and he got a very interesting kind of taiv. He got a taiv because actually the mavis is taiv. Now, Hagam is a little bit major kasha over here. If the whole reason mavis is taiv, at least the start of the parak, is because you have a shame taiv. Sarafim l'chayr did not die with a shame taiv. Okay, and why is mavis a shame? Why is mavis good? Because you never know what's coming, so you never know what's good. You never know what to do with your life. You never know how things are going to end up. But mavis is the end, at least for you. So then you know.
Is because of how you can die.
So that's for the other person. What?
But just for him, he got 3 days.
Right. Right. So that might be right. But on the other hand, as you said, Yosef maybe should have told him, now you can do tshuva. Right. Yosef just summarily sends him to his death. Right. That's right. Yosef should have focused on the Saharaifim. He should have told him, you now have in a position to do tshuva. And forget, like we said, like Daniel, Daniel also, he had a dream, here's what it means, here's what you should do about it. He says by Nebuchadnezzar, he told him what to do to push off the dream coming true. He told him, do tzedakah, and he pushed it off for 12 months. Now, maybe you'll say in this case the dream was for 3 days, so you can't push it off. Kill the tshuva, certainly, right. And he could still it's certainly an opportunity to do something the person knows is going to die. Right. So, so that's, other things do work, but the thing that Parak starts with, which is Taiv Shem and Shem and Taiv, l'chayr does not work. Because l'chayr, the Sharifim has a Shemra. But I want to get to another question. So I asked 2 questions. I said, the Sharifim was expected Taiv, he didn't get Taiv. So the answer is here. He actually, this is a Taiv. And plus, also another thing here in Kehalas, as we spoke about in the past, is that Taiv and Ra have a very close relationship. Right? Because it's Zelu Umazeh. So that's another thing we spoke about a lot. Mashkim and Sarifim are 2 sides of the same coin, whatever. They both did the same chait, and one dies and one lives. And that indicates this inscrutable mystery that Taiv and Ra really have a major shaykhis, and things are much more similar than they appear, and the opposites are very similar, and so on and so forth. And that's another answer for this kasha. So shouldn't he get taiv? The answer is no. So he gets taiv and you get ra. Okay, that's also a possible answer. Does that have to do with the fact that mavis is taiv? I don't know. It sounds like it might. The fact that taiv and ra go together, and that really ra is what we think is the ultimate ra is really taiv. Probably those 2 things actually go together, but there seems to be 2 different terutzim to the kasha. Shouldn't you get taiv? 2 terutzim. You got taiv because taiv l'shmoy garas hachacham and taiv l'lechas al beis evel, and all these taivs about that, and taiv rachas davar. Another teretz is that gamazel umazeh. So vayarki taiv, and you're going to get ra because that's a get this. Fine. Okay. Next. Now I had another question, which was, what did the Sarafim expect? I think his dream is hopeless. I always thought his dream was hopeless. Is there a way to interpret his dream in a way that would be taiv, with the way he expected it to be taiv? He thought he was going to live. L'chayra, pashtas, right? The Sarafim didn't look for a garas chacham. I mean, you could, I don't know why, we could say no, like Sarafim get taiv passer, and he's like, okay, I'll also get taiv. And he got taiv, finished. I mean, I'm assuming the Sarafim wasn't expecting this. If Sarafim get taiv passer, and he expected to get something good in the colloquial sense. In the same way.
In the same sense that he thought
yes.
This was taiv. We're saying this wasn't taiv. He thought it was taiv.
What?
We're saying that the Sarah Mashkin didn't get taiv.
Right. Okay. Right. I mean, if Taiv Shema, no, it's just better. Taiv Achos Davar Meiri, she said Taiv Yom Emavis Miyam Emav. Doesn't say the Sarah Mashkin didn't get Taiv. It says Taiv L'Shema Garas Chacham Mishma Taiv Shirksim. Doesn't say Shirksim is Ra. Shirksim is Taiv, but Garas Chacham is noch better. So I don't know if that's Shra. I don't know if that's Muchach what you're saying. Where? Okay, we say that. Okay. I hear. I don't know how much. I don't know. Havel is a very interesting thing. Right? Okay. So now like this. So now I want to figure out, so here, like I said, I was mocked before the share. It's not on record, so I'll say it again. I'm mocked with that. I think a lot of this is very speculative, what I'm about to say. Not speculative, I don't see how it comes together legamri, but I think there's something major there. So my question is, what did the Sahar Ephim expect? How did he expect to get a good pisrin, okay? Or what's an alternative pisrin that he was hoping for? That's the right way to phrase the question. So now we're going to go to the end of Perek Yud in Kehelas. And I think the end of Perek Yud in Kehelas suggests that there's another pisrin here that, I don't know, eluded Yosef. Yosef chose not to do it. It didn't come to Yosef. It doesn't have to come to Yosef because Yosef is divine and whatever comes to him is the right thing, whatever. But here's the alternative history of the Sahar Ephim, or at least of his piston. Okay? So the end of Perek Yud, again, we spoke a lot about Perek Yud. Perek Yud, from the beginning of Pasuk Yud Aleph, talks about not talking too much, don't be exil. And we spoke a lot about that, about Yosef talking to Eishes Potiphar. Basically, he wasn't supposed to answer. He gave a ganze lange drasha, right? Right? How did it go again? He says,
Every day also.
Right, he says, "Enedu gadol b'bayis imenu v'lechasach menu me'umo ki emesach b'asher at tishtoi ve'eich esav ha'gadol azeh z'chlas l'elkim." So the kasha we had then is that he's just talking too much.
Just say no and walk away.
Say no. Right? What does he need the whole thing? So that's what Kehelas. So Elamai is being mar b'dvarim, and that's not a good thing to do because because she said to him, basically what she said to him is like, okay, I hear it's a very interesting taina you're saying. Let's talk about this tomorrow. Mashinkin, if you wouldn't have been mar b'dvarim, everything would have been fine. So that's okay. But that's what's going on in the end here in Perek Yud, where it talks about Aksil Vasochol yar b'dvarim. This is Perek Yud Pasuk Yud. Yosef's great chachma is going to be able to predict the future, right? Perek Yud Pasuk Yud. It says v'sachal mar b'dvarim, and then he doesn't know what's coming in the future. Okay, and then Pasuk Tesvav talks about the right kind of king is not supposed to be a nar. Yosef was a nar, and he has to become the king. He starts off a Yehu nar, and he has to become a king. So okay, he has to change. He has to grow. Okay, fine. Beseder. Let's we dash in all those psukim. Now we also dash in Pasuk Yutes, which talks about lechem and its association with schaik. Eishes Potiphar said, "Hevi ish ivri l'tzachik banu," and the Sarha. How did it go again? Yosef didn't eat the lechem, which is the isha. So there's a connection between lechem and schaik, and the Sahar Ephim gets in big trouble. The yayin isamachayin, the Sahar Mashkim ends up being alive. Vakesef Yanas Hakol, Yosef ends up collecting all the kesef, and he becomes in charge of all the food. Okay, now let's get to the point about what's going to teach us something about the Sahar Ephim's dreams. But first, I'm just going to show you how the next few psukim refer to the story of Yosef, and then I'll tell you what to me it suggests an alternative interpretation of Sahar Ephim's dream. Gam b'madoach hamelech al tekalel. Don't curse a king even in your mind. Even if you do it privately, even if you do it in your mind or in your bedroom, and people are going to end up hearing about it because the birds are going to carry the sound, right? Now, agav, how could a bird carry the sound if it's in your mind? Right, male in your bedroom. Okay, the bird on the windowsill is going to pick it up, but what does it mean in your mind? The birds could be in your mind. Okay, I don't know what that means, but. What does that have to do with the Sahar with Sahar Ephim? Because like this. Because remember what happened was the king accused Nehemiah, Sahar Mashkim. He said, "Madu panecha ro'im ein zakim roya leiv." He said, if the Sahar Mashkim, if the Sahar of the king has a dismal countenance, that means that he has roya leiv. And Nehemiah was very afraid. He said, because he was accusing me of harboring some treasonous thoughts, right, against the king. If a Sar has royal lave when he's around the king, that's very dangerous. So when Yosef said to the Sahar Mashkim, Sahar Ephim, these two guys who were in jail for a crime against the king, he said to them, "Adu panechem roim hayom," right? Which is a very funny question because they're in jail. So of course right? Of course they're very scared. They're very scared about their fate. But the Sahar Mashkim, but they answer. They say no. We have a clear conscience. Don't think that we're not nervous because We're good with the king. We're sure that everything's gonna be fine with us. Agam, we're in jail because we harbor no ill will against the king, and we're sure he harbors no ill will against us, and he'll find out that we're innocent. But we had a bad dream, and we had a dream that we need a paiser. Yosef says, "Okay, tell me." And the Sarmashkim tells him the dream, but not the Saraifim, till he sees Kitoif Pasar, indicating that the Saraifim did have a guilty conscience. Right? So if you want to know, you read the story. Sarmashkim lives, Saraifim dies. Why? Well, there's one difference in Sarmashkim and Saraifim. If he's willing to tell his dream before he sees Kitoif Pasar, which means the Sarmashkim has a clear conscience, and Saraifim doesn't. Hagam, they both claim to have nothing on their minds except for the fact that they had a dream. It seems like this Ha'ifim did have something on his mind, which is maybe a little bit shver because it has actually the fact that he said that. What do you say? Even though what?
Even though they're both guilty.
Why are they both guilty?
Oh,
they're both chayte. They're both chayte. Right. I don't know if that means they're both guilty of death. Maybe it was chayte, and they knew that the king would see that ultimately they're with him, and he'd understand that it doesn't indicate anything very grave. Right? Now the chayte is a death.
And it does suggest that they're different chataim, and according to the Midrash that says that they were the same, then it's just their attitude.
No. They both have the same chayte.
But the attitude.
One is cursing the king in his mother, meaning one has the wrong attitude to the king, and one doesn't. One trusts that the king is still good with him and that he's still good with the king, and the other one.
And that's what matters.
And that really matters, right? Now, lest the Saraifim think it doesn't matter because it's all in my head. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows this, but we're going to figure it out. You're going to indicate it. Well, how are you going to indicate it? Because you're going to withhold what?
Whatever. Yeah.
Confession.
It's on your face.
It's on his face, right? But the fact that he didn't say the dream, and actually the dream itself is the confession. Because why are you having guilty dreams? Because that's the birds. The birds are telling me what's in your head. Okay, what's in your mada. Now, how do I know it's referring to Yosef? First of all, everything till is referring to Yosef. You meant past you, but also let's read on. Okay, save the bread for the future. Right? Save your bread for the bread, but also saving your bread for the future. 7 good years, but then the 8th year is going to be a hunger. Right? In other words, this is pashut that the Saraifim dreaming about bread, his dreams about food fit into the 3 sequences, the three dream sequences sets. Yosef dreams about food, Sarmashkim, Saraifim, and they're both right. One of them is about grain. One about the stars. One of these is about bread. One of them is about wine. And Parah's dreams too. One of them is about grain, and one of them is about another thing. So there's always lechem. Lechem is the big thing. And lechem is the big thing in the Yosef story. Lechem, kiyum lechem asher hoichel, and Yosef is in charge of the lechem ultimately. So it's all about lechem. Why is it telling you that? Because shlach lechem al pnei hamayim, I guess. And also, right, tinchelik l'shiv v'gam l'shemaina. All right, so I'm just saying, why am I fitting the Saraifim into the Rav, the 7 years? Because of course, Saraifim fits into this whole focus of bread. Exactly, that was a very important question. I still don't know, but so that's what this pasuk is saying. Okay, you have to plan for 7. It's not even enough to plan for 7. You have to plan for 8, because you might think, 7 years is the maximum to plan for. No. You only have to plan for 8 years because you can have 7 good years, and then boom, the 8th year is going to be bad. So you better start planning in advance, which is Pashas Miketz, right? And then pasuk Dalet talks about pasuk Dalet and Hey basically says you can't predict the future. You never know what's coming in terms of the weather. You never know whether it's going to be a good crop, and if you try to predict and you try to wait till you're sure, and you say I'll plant when it's going to grow, and I'll harvest when it's a good time to harvest, you never know. So meaning you can't predict your agriculture, so you just have to plan for uncertainty, plan for risk, which is what Yosef told Pari basically. So things can happen that you unexpectedly, and we have to have an insurance fund, whatever. Another way to say it. Okay. Good. So now I want to suggest like this. I want to suggest Lefizeh. I think there's 2 different ways to read to touch the dream. First of all, the bird eating the bread from his head is pasha, means something else. It means the bird spreads to the world what your thoughts are. That's what the dream means. Okay, what's in your head is your mada, in your mind. And apparently birds can read your mind. That's the kash over here. Somehow birds take what's in your mind and make it into a kyle. I don't know how. Only way I know how is if you dream about birds. Only way it could happen, right? So you dream about birds, then the birds are going to give away what's in your mind. So now that becomes very weird, because then if, let's say that was really in a certain sense what his dream meant. Really what his dream meant was that his thoughts are being given away. Well, how are they being given away? What are the thoughts? See the problem? In other words, if the dream means he's going to die in a few days, so then the dream indicates that he has a guilty conscience. But I'm saying, let's say I'm saying the dream actually meant something else, then it doesn't mean anything. So I don't know. I don't have that worked out. But based on this, it seems like there's another meaning to the dream here, okay? Now, why is eating bread mean giving away your das? Because of the connection between lechem and das, which we're not going to go into, but that's the old thing. Okay, lechem and das, it goes together. It's a das v'schita, and Yosef is a dream, understands chalomis because he avoids lechem. And b'shivas tzion, right? And b'shivas tzion, right? And Daniel also, and b'shivas tzion were kecholmim, and that's where it says alumais. So when you don't have the bad lechem of galus, that's when you know dreams. Kitzer, so the thoughts of the mind are like lechem. Okay. Anyways, so the bird eating the lechem is basically another symbol. I'm saying a different type of the symbol. Bird eating bread off a person's head is this pasuk, is that birds can take your thoughts and then fly away with them. But I want to say even another taich now. Shlach lachmcha, right? So I want to give a crazy pshat to the dream. Yosef told us, and spoke about this last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago. Right, 2 weeks ago. Yosef told us a very weird thing, that when there's a number of items in a dream, it indicates a certain passage of time, which betzim makes no sense. Dahainu, what do 3 salei chayri have to do with 3 days? What do 3 srigim have to do with nothing? Elamai, we spoke about this 2 weeks ago. Dreams have to do with time, and that's a major Kehelas theme, idea in Kehelas, that there's itim in the world. There's itim, meaning the world is made up of these times, these like pockets of time, and each of them has their own quality. And the major problem of man, the major struggle of man, is that we don't know the itim that are coming, because every ace has its own flavor. Ace laledes, ace lamah, and we can't predict what ace is coming around the corner. And dreams are this way of bridging between, or knowing the ace that we can't really know. That's not in front of us. Okay, so Yosef's chiddush was if there's a number of items in a dream, then it's about time. It's about time. The subject of dreams is the itim, because that's what dreams are for. What? Oh, that's a good one. The 11? Right, I wonder about that. Right. No, I don't know how. Where's the 11? What does it mean? I was wondering about it. No, I said it should, according to that. Right. Because, of course, in Parashim also, obviously, right? The 7 cows. It was all about time. So I don't know. You have to find 11 years. I didn't find it.
None of the numbers are time.
Where?
There's
only there's no other numbers.
Yeah,
that's the only number.
The time is unknown. The time is always all the others. All the pairs of dreams there were time. There were numbers in both, and there was time.
No, Yosef's other dream doesn't have numbers.
One of them has a number,
right,
and the other one does not,
right,
and therefore there is no time.
Maybe. Okay.
2 11s are 22 years.
Yeah, but why 2 11s? Over in Anachnim Alman. Okay. Right. Okay. I think we suggested that, but right, the problem was it doesn't say 11. Okay. Yeah. That's shit. So I want to say a different pshat. Hold the pshat sorry from the dream. Shlach lachmo pnei hamayim, right? Kibrev yom timtzenu. So I want to say like this: the 3 salim are not 3 yomim; they're 3 years. 3 years. Which, by the way, the Benaz asks kasha. Okay, if 3 has no 3 days, maybe it's 3 weeks, maybe it's 3 months. The Benaz asks kasha, and the Babanel doesn't like the kasha. But I want to say that the 3 salim are taka 3 years, because 3 years after the Sarifim's dream, there was a sava.
Oh.
And you know why the birds are eating the food? There's so much food that Pari couldn't eat it all himself. So the birds ate it.
Yeah, he misinterpreted?
No, I don't know. I'm saying a different interpretation. I don't know. And shlach lachem cha pnei hamayim k'rev yom timtzenu. That's what the dream is about. The oifa knafayim, the oifa shemayim yodach zakol ba knafayim yagedavar. The portent of the portent, I think that's the right word, of the birds eating the lechem and the sarifim, is that there's going to be lechem that they have to be shalech al pnei hamayim.
Otherwise the birds will take it away.
No, otherwise will take it away, or maybe the birds goofa are the ones who shalech al pnei hamayim because they scatter it around. maybe so. I don't know.
Shlech al pnei hamayim doesn't mean shlech al pnei hamayim. It means put it in the storehouse. I mean, that's what he did.
Seder, but the symbol is shalach al pnei hamayim. So the symbol might also be given to the birds and let them fly around with it. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, shalach al pnei hamayim is not a good advice either for actually preserving bread. So maybe, but I was saying that there's gonna be so much bread that it's gonna be a surplus that the probably is not gonna eat it all. Enough for the bird, and the birds are gonna eat. You feed it to the birds.
Right. But
Now,
that'd be a waste.
Oh, so 1 second. Why is Hashem telling us that? Again, what was Yosef? So Kilu, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I'm just saying what it seems to be saying. So it's something like this: that Yosef should have said, Yosef could have seen already from the Sarafim's dream that there's going to be a Sava Gadol in 3 years, and he's supposed to say, well, why is Hashem telling us that? Because that's his whole theory about dreams, is that to know the Isim. Because I need to know that because Ataka, come to think of it, we never know what the future holds. Maybe when there's a Sava, we should start planning ahead.
Maybe that's why the Opim had to die, so that someone else could take over.
Oh, so now, who's the true Sarah Opim? That's what I think. You know what? Of course Sarah Opim had to die because Yosef had to take over his position. Well, right. No, I think Yosef had to take over his position. So now I want to say, what? Well, exactly. I think Yosef's antagonism, so to speak, to Sarah Opim is because Yosef has to take over the Sarafim. I think that's what Sarafim is in a funny place here because he's the Lechem guy and Yosef is the Lechem guy. Again, like I said, this is usually things are clearer and more worked out, and there seems to be something going on over here. So now, like this, so I'm going back to the end of Perek Vav and Kehelas where it says, "Oh, you think you know what Taiv is, but you never know how your life is going to end until you die b'shem Taiv. You know, you're really not a happy person, right? Call no man happy." Can't no man happy until he's dead, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what it says in Kehelas. Now, I the Sarah Opim died in ignominy. Ovid, what? Yeah, Ovid, how you said?
Was it Ovid?
Yeah, I think so. So now, I the Sarah Opim died in ignominy. What? Now he didn't. He didn't die in ignominy. Why? Because 2 years later they chaved. First of all, what does it say in Kehelas? Sarafim, you never know because you never know what's Taiv because you don't know what's coming. That means, what did Sarafim think is Taiv? That he should be the Sarafim. Yes. He doesn't Stam want to live. We're not going to Stam want to live. What do you want to live for? Because he has a job. He has something important to do. You have something important to do? Really, you don't even know. What don't you know? Maybe there's going to be a hunger and your whole accomplishment of the Sarafim is going to be wiped out. Right? And everyone's going to say, why do we live? Why do we live? Why do we have such a good Sarif? We had such a good Sarif. What was the point? If anyways, the whole times we wiped out on hunger. And Memela, you're not going to die b'shem Taiv, meaning your life is going to end up being purposeless, unless someone takes care of the Rav that's right around the corner. Which actually the Sarifim's dream, in my theory, crazy theory, actually the Sarifim's dream was really predicting that. So the Sarifim died b'shem Taiv. Yeah, I want to tell you 3 years later they disinterred him and they buried him with state honors, whatever. No, they takachaf. The Sarifim was already planning for the future bread of Mitzrayim. How
did they know that?
Because 3 years later, no, because Yosef missed the opportunity to understand the Sarifim's dream as telling us that there's going to be a Sava, and he only chapped that when there was another dream. But really, Sarifim's dream already contained
and therefore,
that knowledge.
Was doing a good thing. He had a dream.
Therefore, the Sarifim completed his work in this world. Okay, he really completed his work in this world because he died with planning ahead, with giving us the key to taking care of the lechem even after his death. So what it says in Kehelas is that you don't know what's going to happen after you. Say that Imam Sarifim got the Shem Taiv, and he really got the Taiv. Ultimately, he got the Taiv because he died. I want to say he died b'shem Taiv. I don't know. You can make a sense of it if you want, or not make sense of it. This is what I'm suggesting. Now I want to take one more point over here. Okay. Remember the other point that says in Kehelas. Don't worry if your slaves curse you. Don't pay any attention. You cursed other people too. Okay? Now, let's think about this. Who's the Eved that's cursing people? So, and that no one should pay any attention to? Well, Yosef is V'sham Yitonu, not every Eved, right? And he's cursing out the Sarah Opim, telling him he's going to die. And Kehelas, maybe, is telling Sarah Opim, don't worry so much. Say, don't worry about what Yosef is saying, right? Now, why shouldn't you worry about what Yosef is saying for cursing you out? Because you also curse people out. Right? Because he was the one who was Mikal the Melech in his Mada, because he had a guilty conscience. So he's, right? So you're going to have tightness on Yosef, don't curse me out. So, why do you curse out the Melech? So you're stuck. Like we said before, it's not really, it doesn't mean that his curses are nothing. But it means you can't hold it against him, because if you hold it against him, Manushach, it's like Manushach. If you hold it against him, then you're taka guilty. Right? Okay, so now let's think about this. Now a very weird thing. Go to Mishlei. Take a look at Mishlei. This is our last thing. Take a look at Mishlei Perek Chavav. Mishlei Perek Chavav, Pasuk Beis. It says, "Katzipar lanud kadror laofkin kil laschinam loy tavai." Like a bird that flies. The drawer is sometimes a bird, right? Yes. And it's off. So to the kalala, a kalala for no purpose will come back to the loy with a vav. The kriyas will come back to the one who gave it. Okay? So now, let's putting that back. So Kahela says, don't worry about the Eved cursing you, right? Which is Yosef, right? Yosef is cursing the Sarah Eifim, which the Chayr means the Sarah Eifim is going to die. Sarah Eifim, don't worry about it. Or you can't be upset at it because you also cursed people. Now, what does it say here in Mishlei? That if the kalala is v'chinam, then like a bird, it's going to go back to Yosef, right? Now, well, let's say, what's the cheshbon over here? What's the cheshbon over here? Right. My cheshbon was like this. Yosef said, I didn't do anything. Yosef insists that he didn't do anything. Right? Everything that happens to me is not because of any fault of mine. What did Yosef do? Did Yosef truly do nothing wrong?
No.
What did he do? Diba. Diba. Mitzi Diba Uchsel, right. He was Mitzi Diba. Right. So now...
Diba against him is understandable too.
Right, exactly.
Came back.
Exactly, right. 1 second. Now, I want to say it like this. Right. She was Mitzi Diba on him. So now, basically, he is now being Mitzi Diba essentially on the Sarah Eifim. He's telling Sarah Eifim you're a guilty person. And the Sarah Eifim, Manavshach, if it's a Kilas Chinam, it's going to come back to Yosef. But you, Sarah Eifim, were Mitzi Diba on the king because you called the king and your mother. Get to the whole Diba is bouncing all around over here. And look what it says right over here. It says in 2 psukim from here, Altan ksin kivalte, pentish v'legam ata. Aha. Don't respond to the exil of like Israel, because then you're like him. Now I'm getting back to the Vayan. Vayan Yosef. Vayan Yosef. Why is he answering the Sarah Eifim? If Sarah Eifim is such a bad guy, he shouldn't answer. Okay?
Did he give him a pizza?
I don't know. Here. Basically, Yosef, by answering the Sarah Eifim and telling him you deserve to die, right? What did Yosef say? I didn't do anything wrong, and you deserve to die. 1 sec, I'm not. Why does he deserve to die? Because he has a bad opinion about the king. Not because of anything he did. The Messiah also did the same thing. Elamai, because it's all about his opinions. And the opinion is not even something he stated, something opinion he has in his mind is also a problem. So you, Yosef, who are Mitzi Diba, you're now like him too. Mm-hmm. And by the way, Yosef is usurping the Sarah Eifim, right? Yosef is the takes over the Sarah Eifim. So he, by being Oina the Exil, the Sarah Eifim, he first of all shows that he's Exil, as we've been discussing, because he should have really been, right? The Chacham knows that the Leiv Evel is more important than the Mishter.
If he focused on him, he would have learned that about the Rav that was coming, etc.
Right. You can say that. Instead, he's Oina to him, and he treats him like Exil. But that really shows that he's also Gam Ato Kilalta Acher. Okay, I don't know if that all came together. We'll leave that. Yeah, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Because it doesn't come back to Yosef because it's not Chinam. Because Taka the Sarah Eifim was Mekabel in his mind, but so was Yosef.
But maybe because he knew it was right.
What?
Maybe because this time he was right.
What?
Last time he was wrong. Therefore came back.
No, so was Yosef because he had a diba. No, but his insisting they didn't do mu'umo was wrong.
Right, he was wrong about that because what he did though